This time on StandardBred, there's something about a trotter, especially this one.
He's got a champion sort of specimen about him, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a beautiful looking horse, yeah. Big and strong, and he's got everything really, a good attitude, the will to win. He was broken in the cart trotting round. You know, everyone at home that had driven him said he's pretty good. Yeah, no, everyone loved him.
StandardBred is supported by a stable of key players in the New Zealand standardbred breeding and racing industries. You've probably got, or had, a favourite trotter, right? A soft spot for Scotch tar scorching out of the gate fastest in the New Zealand pacing free-for-all. Creek the Freak.
So I want to see Lyle Creek.
He's the greatest horse we've had for a long, long time.
Passing lane 4, Martina H, and here comes Lyle Creek out after them into the straight under 200 metres to go. Young Pointers going up to Delton.
Not long after Lyle had packed his bags, came a more royally bred crowd pleaser.
He's just a fantastic horse. 36 wins, 11 Group 1s. You know, it's almost like having a cash register sitting at home. So it stopped abruptly, but we'd had a great ride. You know, what was incredible, when we brought him back here for his retirement, he walked in that paddock virtually without a lead and went straight back to the paddock which he had been raised in, and since then has been put in a paddock with mares. And what we found just absolutely incredible was he went straight to his sister in that paddock of 20 odd mares, and they've been great pals ever since. Just, you know, nature's a wonderful thing.
By the time I Can Do's It came along, it wasn't just a case of right place, right time for Ken Brecken. He and his brother Pete had quickly learned to take on board some breeding advice.
Like a mug early on I didn't, and believed in my own ability, and sadly got burnt. But no, I did learn from those early mistakes, but with Muscles Yankee, it was about improving the breed, and he was very, very expensive, $20,000. He really wasn't known down here, but a huge reputation and doing a great job up in the States. So to me, it was a no-brainer.
The champion son of sire extraordinaire Muscles Yankee and American-bred open-class mare She's a Doozy went on to win everything that matters in Australasian trotting. His brother, Snow's big boy, won $250,000 for good measure. The cross with Chiola Hanover has produced also multiple stakes-winning trotter Sky Valley. Greg and Nina Hope's journey to join the world of bandages in behind and half hobbles was a bit different. The successful beach trainers, with a knack for producing a good square gaiter, had their heads turned to the ways of trotting more by market forces.
We've diverted more probably into the trotters now, where it's probably it's harder to buy those better paces. You've got to pay overs for them, and we haven't got the owners to be doing that, so we've chose to go down the trotting line.
Is the tide turning toward the trotter down under? There's some anecdotal evidence to suggest it might be.
Ready.
Trotting's going forward. I mean, there's the Australians, there's a couple of major players over there. I mean, if you look at Pat Driscoll's property, a new property in Ballarat, purely for trotters.
What a moment. Stent gets the inside run now.
So you only have to look at the card at Auckland. You know, I think some nights you can have 3, 4 races in trotting. Just come back from Victoria. Victoria's got a huge push into trotting, incredibly so. And you'll see some real big growth and big announcements in the next 12 to 18 months.
The New Zealand Sire Stakes Board reports increases in entries for its age group trot series. At the New Zealand yearling sales, it's not unusual for buyers at the top end to break through the $100,000 barrier for trotters. Brecken Farms recently sold an American-bred filly by Muscle Hill for $120,000 to New Zealand's #1 standardbred stud.
We've got mares on the farm that are from America, and we were lucky enough to get Regal Volo, who in their first 4 foals, our 2010, who's been 2-year-old, 3-year-old of the year over there, Highgate, 2- and 3-year-old in New Zealand. Regal Love's not far away from them. it's again the improvement in the breed. And like I say, we're looking forward to again now with the She's a Doozy family.
The Wikipedia still refers to New Zealand Cups, Auckland Cups and even Inter-Dominions as the marquee events in Australasia. Across Europe, there's no mention of paces. The Prix d'Amérique in Paris, Elite Lob from Stockholm. They vie for the top spot in the Euro world of trotting.
Is there enough respect in that hemisphere for the Southern Hemisphere racehorse?
Not for our trotters yet, I don't think so, and I think we haven't earned the right for that yet. There's certainly a genuine interest in the industry down here. If you look at the whole Dubois operation, you know, he's had semen, frozen semen down here. I know there's guys talking about getting stallions down here in the flesh. The issue, of course, is commercially you're breeding with very small numbers at the moment, but the trotting side of it has massive scope for growth.
I think you need to be improving your breed to be able to compete, and I think we're seeing with young trotters, because of this international bloodlines, that they do trot as 2-year-olds, and for the punter, that's what they want to see. Nothing worse than seeing horses break, and if you really look at these 2-year-old races you see today, they trot, and they trot quick. The world's becoming a smaller place, and you know, I think there's a lot more interest. You know, I'm talking about Americans coming down this year for the sales, again because our breed's lifted.
No one will be paying the $800,000 handed over for the top trotting colt at Lexington, but there will be the Muscle Hills, Lucky Chuckies and Love Yous populating the New Zealand yearling sales in seasons to come. They're the results of cross-pollination, the best we have with the best they've got, for an increasingly improved trotting horse down this way.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to get into that family, and we're breeding from Monbet's close relatives as well. So, and it is, I think, training on the beach. We have a lot of success with trotters down here, so it's probably the way to go for us. Yeah.
There's 15,000 brood mares in France bred a year. That gives you that whole lot of genetic diversity, and we could inject a completely new pedigree into our trotting mares down here and probably see massive gains in that response. And then you've got this huge market. You're not just selling to Australia and America, you're selling to Europe. You know, and so it's not going to happen in the next 5 years, but certainly 10 or 15 years, if we could up our trotting pedigrees and our performances enough, then we've got a massive market.
8 Revenue leder, varvar på 10,4.
Like to know more about racing or breeding standardbreds? Find the New Zealand Standardbred Breeders on Facebook or go to the Breeders website. Standardbred is supported by a stable of key players in the New Zealand standardbred breeding and racing industries. There's something about a trotter. Ask any semi-retired or part-time standardbred trainer wanting to muck around with a horse. It'll be a trotter.
Monbet.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it's great to just be considered for an award like that, let alone, you know, winning it. It's pretty amazing. We always thought he was going to be a really nice horse, but we never thought, you know, what he's done. You know, what he's done is absolutely amazing, and we're really privileged to be able to work with a horse like that.
Now, it's not like there's never been a trotter crowned champion New Zealand standardbred before. But while past winners, Mare and I, and the all-conquering Lyle Creek were indeed freaks with pedigrees to pace, this New Zealand Horse of the Year is king of a breakthrough generation of square gaiters. Monbet does exactly what he's designed to do: trot cleanly, naturally, quickly, and for a long way. Greg and Nina Hope's beach training environment is well known for its contribution to their success now. It heals and improves standardbred racehorses physically and mentally from the rigours of racetracks and race days. The long, straight run is perfect for trotters and a key to the well-being of the champion the Hopes bred and still own themselves.
Well, Greg, as long as I've known him, he's always said he loved to train a beautiful trotter.
I've always thought the beach is a psychological positive, just the environment?
Yeah.
Is that...
Well, it's just yourself when you go for a walk down the beach. It's more fun, yeah.
What's the beach in terms of, track conditions? Is it always dead or what is it?
Oh, it definitely slows their action down. I think that's why it suits the trotters more than anything, because it actually slows their action down and they get less likely to touch, They do go into it a bit. It is, he actually, believe it or not, he gets more speed off the track than he does off the beach. The beach sort of slows his action down so he doesn't get the, he loses quite a bit of speed on the beach, but obviously for his mental toughness and for his stamina, it's great,
Now, Rackler won both the Dominion Handicap and the New Zealand Cup. And true to the trotting legend, Scotch Tar did indeed lead New Zealand's fastest out of the gate in the 1980 New Zealand pacing free-for-all, Trotting, but was 100% bred to pace. And of course, Lyell Creek wasn't exactly pure square gaiter, so it wasn't so long ago that if you fancied a trotter, you might have to muck around converting a pacer.
Did your dad and that have much to do with trotters early on?
Well, when I first went training, Father had that sit. He was a converted pacer. He was a Plat de Jour, and we won 6 or 7 races with him, and used to ride him, and we got him organised and got him qualified, and yeah, he did a good job for a pretty erratic sort of horse.
What's the sort of work ethic that needs to make a pacer trot as opposed to just a trotter that trots naturally?
Probably the fact that you start them off with a bit of weight, A pacer probably needs to actually learn to put his feet in the right place, I mean, it's quite daggy. There's a few better delights that trot now, So, I mean, some horses are happier trotting against pacing, but, likes of Scotch Tar, I know he used to have 2 shoes on the one foot.
And for every Scotch Tar, you can bet there's 100 no-hope Hanovers. Might be time to convert completely.
How did you get a hold of Deirdre Darling for a start, I suppose?
Well, that was Greg's.
Yeah, I just saw it in the Harness Weekly one week and see it for sale, and I thought, I think it was 6,000 they wanted for it, and I just thought it was a hell of a bargain to buy a Sundon mare out of a mare that had won 22 races, and Deirdre's pride. She was a great mare herself, and this mare being by Sundon, our leading sire at the time, and I just felt that it was a great opportunity to get into a good trotting family.
As that old chestnut Luck would have it, the progeny from their first primo trotting mare hit the ground, well, trotting.
She left Donaldson, being such a nice horse to Earl. Greg just thought Love You was the best stallion around, and if we wanted to really make a go of it, we should send the mare there. And so he twisted my arm and sort of promised me that we guaranteed a nice horse.
This is him?
Yeah. And yeah, we took the gamble and got Monbet. Yeah.
Mark Smith, he was sort of the instigator to getting Love You out to New Zealand, and he said to me, if you breed that mare to Love You, you're guaranteed you're going to get yourself a good horse. He was more than confident that he'd do a great job, and Mark, of course, bred Lyell Creek, so who were we to argue with?
He's by Roydon Glen, mind.
That's right.
Speaking of converting paces.
Yes, that's right.
European trotting. Do you know much about that other than Love You? Had you followed any of that sort of stuff?
Oh, just really the fact that they've always been renowned for their staying prowess. They race over longer distances, and our mare's all American bred. She's got 2 strains of Arndon in here that it's like the direct scooter of the pacing world, really. It's the speed factor, and crossing it with the staying blood of the French, we thought we've got a good chance of breeding a nice horse.
What made you so confident? Was that just sort of pipe dreamy stuff?
Oh, well, the family's been so dominant, the Deirdre family. I mean, Fred Fletcher had great success, had a lot of juveniles, and I just couldn't see how we could really miss. And he spent years, Sir Roy, developing the breed, and we were lucky to come in, after he'd spent a fortune on making the breed, really.
Still, You can count the number of horse breeders who promise the perfect result on one hand. Well, actually, this is him. And look away if you've been trying your own trotter template since before the turn of a century or two.
And so what are you going to work him today for us?
Oh, he'll just do 2 miles. He'll just bowl back halves between 10 and 15, and yeah, we won't sprint him. I always reckon speed kills, so we do a lot of miles rather than actually at speed, you know.
To join the harness racing and breeding conversation, you can make contact with your StandardBred breeders associations across New Zealand.
He's got a champion sort of specimen about him, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a beautiful looking horse, yeah. Big and strong, and he's got everything really, a good attitude, the will to win. He was broken in the cart trotting round. You know, everyone at home that had driven him said he's pretty good. Yeah, no, everyone loved him.
So what was the difference? Greg, you probably did a bit of the driving?
He was just growing out stronger and just had a beautiful gait. We always thought that he was a great staying horse, but even at that early age, he could run along as quick as our paces could, you know.
Do you get to drive him much, Monbet?
Monbet, I've only driven him once.
Why is that?
He sort of put the boot in. It was before the 2-year-old Jules, and yeah, I just leave it to Greg. It's probably best if the same person drives him all the time, and then can feel if there's any changes in that, but yeah, I'll just leave him to Greg.
So is Monbet sort of fingertip control?
Oh yeah, he can get on the nickel, you know, like he's fairly competitive, and he's sensible. He's not going to over race, you know. He's very clever wee horse. He doesn't actually he might get keen in his races, but he won't go to the point of going over the top.
Competitive but sensible, as fast as a pacer, and he can stay all day. A horse more than capable of making a name for himself.
The name Monbet, Nina, what's the story behind that?
Well, we never actually named him until a couple of weeks before he was off to the trials to qualify, and we knew at this stage he was something pretty special. So I really wanted, you know, a good name, and so I wanted to name him after our 2 boys, Ben and Tom, and so I just worked on just using the letters from Ben and Tom and tried to create a word, and Monbet sort of didn't have the same, the flow as Monbet, so because he's by the French sire, that's how he got his name.
So is there such a word as Monbet?
There is a clarinet player, I think, in France, so if you Google Monbet, you'll get either him or this Fiona Monbet, the clarinet player in France. But I think it might be a suburb somewhere in France, but it's not an actual place, I don't think.
Actually, now if you Google Monbet, it's Glamour Trotter wins New Zealand Horse of the Year, Rising Superstar Monsters Rivals, more titles for Top Trotter, offers flying for Monbet.
Tim Butt was getting a syndicate together to buy the horse, and we didn't want to sell the horse really at any stage. It was just we didn't want to be seen to be silly in turning down the massive money they were offering, and so we thought, well, if we were meant to keep him, he'll fail the vet. He didn't pass the vet on a couple of little issues that really probably a lot of horses would have them. Most horses would have those little issues, but for the money they were asking, they were wanting the perfect horse, you know, and so lucky enough we were in the position we kept the horse.
So, do you remember initial feelings in and around that time? Were you sort of...
Oh, it's horrible. It was, yeah. It was, but the night at the races when Tim said no, we're not going to take him, I could just see how happy Greg was, and I thought, right, you know, we're meant to keep him. So it was quite a relief for us, really.
Que sera, sera then.
Pretty hard to be better than what he was this year, I'd say. You know, we're just hopeful that he might be as good. You know.
The pressures of dealing with dollared-up syndicates behind them, the Hopes can now concentrate on the career ahead. They've taken the experiences of winning and losing across the Tasman in their stride, and for any racing niggles or confirmation queries that have helped them keep their dream GG, there's always a day at the beach to blow away the cobwebs and concerns that come with breeding, owning and training a trotting titan.
And we're lucky we're in the position that we own him ourselves, that, you know, because sometimes, you know, you feel that pressure for the owners and that to get the horse out there, and but with us, we've always just waited. If he's not right, then he doesn't race, and Ricky's looked after him too, so we just take that approach with him. Like if he's not right for a race, he's not going to be lining up in it. We just put him first all the time. Yeah.
So you have that luxury a bit.
We do, yeah.
And potentially the trotting world at their feet. The true greats from down under have tried before, and he'd be racing fields full of flawless beasts like himself. But take Monbet to Europe and race the elite of all trotting equines, now that'd be something, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be huge, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've had a couple of Swedish girls work for us over the last 2 or 3 years, and yeah, by the sounds of it, the race is everything to them, and yeah, it would be lovely to see how the other half live. You know, he's proved that he's up with the best here, and it'll be interesting to see where he'd be in comparison to those. You know, like he has got a high cruising speed, and he does love the speed on all the way. You know, and that's obviously how they race. You know.
Well, I mean, Greg works so hard, and his whole life has been racehorses his whole life, and horses like Monbet, you only get one, and yeah, to sort of end the journey and not be able to continue on with him it would have been quite heartbreaking, really.
Next time on StandardBred.
Incredibly, when we arrived there, we didn't have a book, we didn't have a catalogue, and the horse, I said, what lot is it? And he said, I don't know. So we managed to grab a book, and she was literally walking into the ring as we arrived.
The business and back paddock yarns behind Bracken Farms.
Not registered, never been actually to an auction in our lives before, didn't even know what registration was. But anyway, so they stopped the auction midway and say, hang on, are you guys together? What's happening up there? You're bidding against each other, you're together, what's going on?